Do you like women's sports? Sports across the gender spectrum? How about you're sick of men's sports? Well, that's what we're here to talk about.
On this show, we work to level the sports coverage across the gender spectrum.
Welcome to Balanced Sports.
I'm Hunter.
I'm Jewelz.
Let's get into it.
Welcome back to Balanced Sports. I'm Jewelz.
I'm Hunter.
Look who's back!
I know, and in honor of your previous guest host, I will be looking my on camera today.
Goodness gracious.
No, before we even get started on this, I have been camping for the last 4 days, completely without any cell service, no phone. I got back needing to catch up on WNBA, so I was researching some stats last night, looking through some of the games, and I came across this show that told me everything that's happened. It's fucking Balanced Sports because you crushed it. No, seriously. This is like, that episode was so rad. The information was good. The kitties were adorable. But you're just amazing at this. It was really, really cool.
Thank you. I missed you a lot. The kittens did a pretty good job filling in for you, but I missed you. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you had a good camping trip.
I can't quite reach.
So
I practiced. Try a little every day.
Oh my God. We're going to start with the home team. Seattle Storm clinching, moving on to the second round.
Look, we did have that happening. I really needed it to happen too. Great series.
Yeah, great series. Great series. So we have New York and Chicago. Chicago beat New York 92-72. Did you get a chance to look at any of that game?
I have seen a little bit of it, yes.
Okay. What did you think?
New York tried it. I was really, my thing with both of these game threes in the first round was I was just so grateful that they weren't single elimination games and like they were in years past. Like, even though they weren't, this game ended up being a 20-point difference. There was only a couple of 4 lead changes. Chicago was the better team, but I'm really grateful we had the series out of this, that New York was able to extend it. I think especially for a team, there was multiple times all season where we didn't know if New York was going to make the playoffs. So it just gives you hope, I feel like, to at least push it to 3. What could we have next year? Is this something to build on?
Yes, definitely. It gave hope to that franchise. And I don't think they've been in the playoffs in quite a while. So it was like, hey, we can do this. Happy for them. Not surprised by the outcome. So top scorers for New York, Benijah Laney had 15 points. Natasha Howard had a double-double, 14 points, 11 boards, and Sabrina had 14.
Now, everybody for Chicago scored in double figures.
Read it off.
Kalia Copper and Alec Quigley, 15 points. Courtney Vandersloot, 14. Candace Parker, double-double of them thangs. She had 14 points, 13 boards. And Azare and Emma Meisman both had 12. Deep.
Congratulations to James Wade, who was named, Executive of the Year. I'm apologizing to you because you were the executive of our fantasy.
Damn. James.
So close. He is the Executive of the Year, so congratulations to him.
Did we vote him on that, or did we even
We didn't even do executive.
Okay.
We just went straight to coach.
Congratulations, James.
So since he did that, who do you think will get coach?
Well, that's so weird to me. I'm like, I feel like I voted him coach because I was like, I don't know how the executive works, but now they got the executive. I feel like he can't get the coach. I don't know. I keep hearing people say Tanisha Wright, and I'm like, we're really going to give coach of the year to a coach that didn't make the playoffs? We don't know. And then I really like your idea of Vanessa Nygaard. She's not good. There's no way in hell she's winning that award. But like, think of that season that they had. Think of it.
Think of it.
Just think of it.
Just
saying.
So moving on to the other game 3, we had Connecticut and Dallas.
This was fun. It really was. Both of the first 2 games were, I'm going to say, decisive. Because the teams won in pretty big ways. Connecticut won really big at home, so you thought, okay, game 2, they're just going to send it, like, close it out here. And I feel like Dallas was up at one point 30 points in that game.
I do believe that was the case.
Connecticut ended up coming back. But game 3 was really, really close to the first half.
Okay, it was, but it was also like a ridiculously low-scoring game at the beginning. It was just like, what's happening? I thought I was gonna have another 7-7-7 moment. I struggled to say that it was a good game because it just wasn't. It wasn't pretty basketball.
It was an ugly game.
Yeah, and that's not fair because it doesn't have to be pretty in order to be a good game. But
I thought that watching, I was like, okay, this is just gritty playoff basketball. The first quarter, and we'll get into kind of their travel woes, but I was looking for reasons that maybe Connecticut would be tense. One of them was their travel thing.
I definitely put it on travel.
Yeah, travel, but then besides your travel issues, they hadn't touched a ball. They said they hadn't been able to practice the way they wanted to since Sunday. So they just look rusty. There was easy bunnies that they were missing. But it was a game 3, so I was like, okay, the ugliness could be because of that. It could also be because these teams are just playing so hard right now. They know each other so well, so it's not going to be a pretty game.
Agreed. Let's get into the top scorers. DeWanna Bonner had 21 points. AT had 13 and 8 boards. JJ had a double-double, 11 points, 11 boards. And Natasha Heidemann also had 11 points.
What do you think? I just feel like DeWanna Bonner and Alyssa Thomas. DeWanna Bonner's 3 to me at the end of the half is what got them rolling.
Sure.
They rolled.
There were moments in the game where it felt like AT and DeWanna Bonner had some issues in the personal life that were maybe bleeding over. Did you feel that way? It was just a little bit like tense of just like, what is happening? That made me a little bit uncomfortable. So yeah, that's how I felt about their performances. I think at a certain point, all of the Suns' body language was just bad. And JJ also got into some foul trouble. I was worried for Connecticut at certain points in this game.
I was too, and Dallas has that kind of capability to play that kind of dog mentality. Like, we're gonna... What's the best way to say this? I feel like they're not the most talented team, but they play in really creative, fun ways. Like Mabry can really get going sometimes and knock some things down offensively. Alicia Gray had an incredible year. Tara McGowan in game 2 had a double-double. She was really ineffective in this game. I mean, she had some incredible blocks.
Let's talk about them blocks.
But the depth and the size of Connecticut just keeps coming at you, and I feel like they're just veterans. We expected them to kind of go on, and they proved to me over the second half of this game why they are the better team. That first half was just ugly.
Yes, agreed.
For Dallas, Marina Mabry led them with 20 points. Veronica Burton had 10. They were the only 2 wings players in double figures. And Mabry did have 20 points, but she was just like really had to work for her points. You know what I mean? I feel like they played her so tough all night. Enrique was available for the first time in the series. Yeah. But just didn't look healthy.
She wasn't. She didn't start. She wore, they said, like a padded, undershirt. She couldn't play at 100%. And that sucks for her. Hopefully, I trust that she's going to fully heal and come back and be good for next season. But it was unfortunate. Isabel Harris went down with a rolled ankle. At least, I'm not sure if that was properly what it was called, but it looked like she rolled her ankle, came down. Dallas. Look, we're always going to talk about the bright sides of things here. Them blocks.
The blocks. This was a really dubious stat I thought that ESPN shared, but congratulations, Dallas, for your first non-losing season since 2014. It's when they were the Tulsa Shock. I actually have it right here.
It was only, that sounds crappy, but it was like a 500 season.
They literally were 18-18 this year. It was their first non-losing season since 2015 when they were the Tulsa Shock.
And that is exciting for that franchise.
It was also the first time they have ever hosted a home playoff game. That is a big thing. They pushed it to a game 3. They brought it back to Dallas. They had 5,000 fans there. Dallas, you need to do better. Girlies, I should have called all the fam. Got y'all some tickets.
You should have.
Really incredible for that franchise to host that. They were so excited to get that back to Dallas. Now, if they could have followed through on it, it would have been lovely. But those 2 teams that pushed it to game 3, we're going to give you some snaps for, ending on a bit more of a positive note.
Absolutely. Their game 3s are exciting. And so I'm glad that 2 out of the 4 games went to game 3. Let's talk about the travel woes of Connecticut. There were some canceled flights. They call up somebody. A charter is sent that can only hold 14 people, and apparently no luggage. So not even like trainers, any of that stuff. They can't actually do their job because they don't have their things. So like, what sense does that make? Did you really help by sending a charter that can't get everything they need?
We fly in first class without our bags. That was hilarious. They were like, thank you so much, Kathy and the WNBA, for sending us that charter. We can only fit our most important staff, and everyone leave your bags on the terminal. Wild. Just wild.
Absolutely wild.
So that was really messy for a playoff team. Not messy, unfortunate. Like, that would have been huge news if they would have lost that playoff game and then been like, well, we didn't have practice for 4 days.
That's not a good look for the league. And I think that I know the CBA is done, but it needs to be readdressed. The fact that this flight thing is a huge issue and it needs to be resolved. I would love to see it resolved before the 2023 season gets underway. Seems
like a really quick and easy way to make everyone's lives a little bit better, especially in the playoffs when you kind of do like this. But you know what? Not to look for a silver lining. The playoffs are really, really long. They're really, really drawn out.
They surprisingly are.
Do you think that they're long for any specific reason? Do you think that maybe they foreshadowed that something like this could happen, or just more like rest for the players?
I'm going to say rest for the players. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense. Like, you're not banking on, lost luggage. So, but it's kind of wild that Seattle and Vegas have a full week. Like, Seattle last played on Sunday. They don't play again until Sunday. That is a long time to not play. It's great for them to be able to get in practice reps and to not feel, rushed or whatever, but just kind of sitting around not doing much either.
For players that are injured, I keep thinking a great time that they have
yes.
to recover and hopefully get healthy for their next series.
Absolutely.
Derica Hambry, we're looking at you.
Gabby Williams, we're looking at you.
God, you think have they said anything yet? Was she practicing?
She was not at practice yesterday.
Jewelz, if we don't have her for that series, even if one game,
it will be an extremely, extremely difficult task for the Storm to win without Gabby Williams. I did see Mercedes Russell get in some movement yesterday at practice, so that was exciting to see.
Love that.
It was completely like after practice. Like, when I got there, she was on the bike and she wasn't rotating in to anything. But it was good to see her, with one of the coaches, doing movements, doing things. So, do I think she's going to play in the playoffs? No, I don't.
I don't at all.
No.
Why don't they just roll her out for the season? I don't understand why there's this kind of back and forth of like, maybe Mercedes. I don't feel like any team is strategically planning for her. And so I don't even understand that argument. I don't get why you wouldn't just roll her out for the season.
I don't think that they're planning for her, but I do think that it might do something if you're like, well, at any point she might.
That's a good point. And maybe she would get healthy enough. Let's say they made the finals to where she could come in a desperate moment of need.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, the finals don't happen until late
October 40th, I think. Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there.
I'll be there in my Halloween costume.
Are you doing the Britney one this year?
Hit me, baby, one more time. Brittany, let me tell you. Side note, Bound Sports fans, the crossover. I came back in my gay ass saw that Britney Spears and John Elton are releasing a song together, and I've played that 20-second clip that they have shared minimum of 100 times. When I tell you I was laying in bed, smile across my face, and I said to the ether, there's no one around me. It's about midnight last night. I said, God, I'm so thankful I'm gay. Hi, gay. That's how much it meant to me. In that moment, I had been caught up on all my, not fully caught up, I'd been through my WNBA things, but Britney and John Elton together. Mwah. Anywho, back to the dub. Crossover.
Oh, okay. So yes, let's get into what's next for Dallas.
An interesting storyline became how successful they were when Enrique Ogunbowale unfortunately was injured. And I say an interesting storyline because you'd look at her and say undoubtedly she's one of the better scorers in the league.
Absolutely. She is an all-star. Put some respect on her name.
And I'm not putting any respect, but you have to look at that if you're the ownership or the coaches and say, if Enrique has taken a lot of money on our books, but we thought maybe we executed in these ways. I'm not at all saying I think Enrique Ogunbowale is fantastic. I would not personally want to trade her if she's on my team. Okay. But I think it brings up an interesting conversation of if they were to move on from her and they liked the other things they wanted, what could they get for Enrique in return? Are there other teams that are willing to make big trades?
Okay. I'm only going to entertain this because it's an interesting thought experiment. What I'm going to say first is You do not trade Arike Kumbawale. I do not agree with the storyline that Dallas is better off without her. I think it speaks to a good general manager that when your all-star goes down, your team does not fall apart. I don't think moving on from Arike is the right move. I think that they have people around her that when she goes down, things rise, next woman up, that kind of deal. Now, if that's what they want to do, I think they can get a lot for her.
Definitely.
Like who?
That's the thing. I think it's going to be a really interesting year of a lot of pieces that we see as staples maybe moving around. And they also have Satu Sabali. They have something that they're going to have to figure out is they have 2 years ago, Charlie Collier, the number 1 overall draft pick. They barely got her any minutes. She's behind Tierra McGowan now, Isabel Harris, and Awak Queer. Besides Charlie Collier, they have a lot of guards that play very similar role. Ty Harris, they have Alicia Gray, they have Mabry. It just seems like a lot of cooks in the kitchen in certain things, and I think that they can help out their roster by moving some of these things. They've drafted, I think, in recent years, very similar guards, but maybe a year of Satu Sabali being healthy, I would love to see them build around her more.
But that sounds like what you're describing sounds like depth, and that's not a bad thing to have.
But it feels like your depth isn't providing anything different. And that they just haven't done much with it. I would say like I've found their draft selections really interesting the last couple of years because of how they just developed them or even maybe giving time. I'm not saying it was a mistake to go with Charlie Collier at number 1, but you would think that that player would just get a lot more burn and opportunity. Sure. And I'm not in those practices, so I don't know what's going on. But I think we're going to see some big shifts over in Dallas.
Agreed. I mean, they have to. They can't run it back. They improved, but they obviously wanted to go further. So, big shifts for sure. I'm trying to think, honestly, where would Arike want to go? And I don't know if that's where she is in her career, where she can just say, I want to go here and go. I don't think really that's what's going to happen. But, what is a team that's losing a point guard?
I know, and she's a very specific kind of point guard too. I mean, the other thing is this team made the playoffs and they were a bit ahead of those other teams. They ended up being the 6th seed, but it's not that they didn't have their turmoil within the season as well. Isabel Harris one time this season commented on someone else's post that was like, yeah, why am I not getting more playing time? Do you remember that?
I do.
So I just feel like great that they made it to the playoffs. They really fought hard. I think they were really proud to like show Wings basketball.
Yeah.
I think there'll be some new members of every team. Looks different. I think there will definitely be some new members of the squad next year.
And what about New York?
God, is Stewie gonna go?
Oh, okay, fine. Let's talk about it. Is Brianna Stewart gonna end up in New York? I certainly hope not. She's from that area. That's the only reason she would go back. She has a 1-year-old child. Like, to me, it's more about what you want outside of basketball. And maybe she just wants to be closer to home, and New York's got a basketball team. Like, that's why she goes there. I don't think that franchise is built for her. So why leave, Stewie?
Because they're doing everything here for you. Please stay. They love you here. We love you here. Also, very cute, authentic moment at the end of that interview with her. That was really great.
Oh, thanks. Liz hated that part. We're watching it because I think it was just being vulnerable with somebody.
Oh yeah, like I was cringing, but like I thought it was cute. I could have literally never. I thought to myself like, oh my god, I love that Jewelz did that because if I would have been. Let me just imagine, like, I'm holding the camera. I would have turned my head. I would have been like, I cannot watch this. Like, watching it on camera, beautiful. In person, my skin would have left my body. It would have crawled right away.
Oh, God. Thanks for the support, bud.
I'm always here from afar. You just know that I'm not the one.
I'm so glad you did that. I would never.
You know what I didn't say at the end of my interview with Tina, and I just want you to know that for all of us quiet folk that don't want to say shit, really thank you for standing up.
We feel seen by you not talking.
You lead us through this journey.
Yeah, so, okay, continuing with New York.
New York, okay, a lot to build on here. We had a very interesting season. God, what do you do if you're New York? I just don't know. Like, clearly they're missing several pieces. Maureen Johannes came in and did a really great job. Mm-hmm. Sabrina, an incredible season. Mm-hmm. Natasha Howard, solid.
Okay, so I think they do everything they can to get Stewie. Now what? Who did they give up to get her? Is Han gone?
I don't think they want to move on from her. I think they have her on a really friendly team deal.
Okay.
I feel like they would have to get rid of one of Dolson or Natasha Howard. And I don't think they want to do that, but definitely one of those two players. I feel like with the money on the books, I don't know if they would be able to keep them both. They fill similar roles in that way, kind of a stretch post defender. Both of those players, Howard, Dolson, and Stewie, could all extend the floor, hit threes at a decently consistent rate.
Mm-hmm. I would think that Natasha Howard would be the one who goes.
I could see that.
I mean, Dolson's like a true 5, and Stewie likes to play the 4. So
Natasha Howard was in Seattle before she was there. Wouldn't it be crazy if she came back here? What if we just have an old Seattle squad?
Come on back, girl.
That would be wild. For New York, I think they got more familiar with Sandy Brondello's system as the year went on. I think that they did a lot of really good things, like pieces to add. I don't think Crystal Dangerfield I don't know if she'll be on this team next year. She was a late addition, but I just like what they did throughout the season to get there. Like Maureen Johannes joined late. Crystal Dangerfield came in and they moved Sabrina over to the 2. That allowed her to play a little bit different game. I thought they did really smart stuff this year. And I feel like because of that, they're going to go in a certain direction this offseason. As someone personally who just didn't watch a ton of New York basketball, I just don't know what the best move is for them. You know what I mean? I don't know if they saw what Crystal Dangerfield was able to do, and so they think, maybe Sabrina with a really good point guard moved over to the 2 could be beneficial. Of course, who wouldn't want Stewie? Like, every team's made better with that.
Absolutely. Okay, so first step would be to get healthy.
Facts.
Everyone needs to get healthy. And I also think everyone's up for discussion except for Sabrina. Like, she's the only one they're not willing to move.
Mm-hmm. On the chopping block.
Yeah, I think they keep Sabrina. I think they keep Maureen and Johannes as well.
Absolutely. Hooper. Excitement.
Like, absolutely. But Nigelani, I think they would want to keep her as well. I'm just wondering what's the plan if they don't get Stewie.
For sure.
What do y'all think? I would say leave some comments as to what should New York do if they don't get Stewie? When and if they don't get Stewie.
We should start doing this with Stewie. It's like random, like, what's your favorite animal? What's your favorite color? Which city do you like better, New York or Seattle? And just like subliminal ones that'd be like, who has better food? Which franchise? Investigative reporting. Trick Stewie. Ha ha.
Let's get into what's going to happen on Sunday, because we have the Seattle Storm and Las Vegas playing at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have Connecticut playing Chicago at 8 p.m. What's going to happen Sunday night in Vegas?
Truthfully, a lot is going to depend on if Gabby Williams is healthy for us. If Gabby Williams is not playing this game, I'm writing us off. And it's because with Gabby Williams healthy, I already have questions, but she fills a huge void for us.
There's no one. There is no one to replace her.
Literally
Steph
incomparable.
Talbot came into the game when Gabby went down, but I wouldn't say that she replaced her. She just came into the game and did a good job. But like, Gabby is ridiculously athletic, bouncy, like hands everywhere. Nobody else has it. Gabby's gonna be fine. I
think we should take the kittens to practice and let her play. It surely would heal. I'm just saying the healing power of kittens. Gabby Williams not healthy. I think I would still take Vegas in game 1, even if Gabby Williams is healthy. I'd take them in the series, but I definitely think they're gonna get game 1. Sue's been playing a little bit better. It's, to me, the matchup Sue guarding either Chelsea Gray or Kelsey Plum. They both have destroyed us when we played. Chelsea Gray just has looked untouchable.
Yeah, she's doing whatever she wants. She is the biggest problem. The question is, why don't we put Gabby on Chelsea?
That's what I keep wondering. And I was watching the Winsider team do playback last night when they were watching the WNBA, and they kept saying, yeah, Gabby's a good matchup for either Jackie or Kelsey. And I was like, who stopped Chelsea?
Yeah.
Clearly, that seems to be an issue.
Maybe we can ask Coach that.
Maybe we will. I thought it was smart by the Mystics to put Alicia Gray, for instance, on Sue Bird. And I was like, this is an interesting one because you don't think of Sue as this killer on offense, but what I thought it did is put somebody that knew the Storm's offense, and so she's relaying that. So it just starts at the top, right? To me, if you just let Chelsea Gray get into the flow offensively, if you let her get everyone else involved, I just feel like that would be a great it's really hard to stop Chelsea Gray. So I'm not saying that Gabby Williams coming in and guarding her, we're winning and shutting down this game.
Sure.
But that's really beneficial if you can slow down her.
We've got to find a way to slow down Chelsea Gray. I think Gabby's the answer. If Gabby is unavailable, just throw the kitchen sink at her and see what happens. Because
I love that we talked about these two teams all season being great teams, but they also have two players that are in the three actually players in the front runner race for MVP. Who do you have in this one?
I'm going to say the Storm take this first game. We come in, we steal that first one at home. Yeah, because we have to. Because we have to. We got to strike right away. I agree. Without Gabby, we have lost this game.
Make a prediction for both, with Gabby and without.
With Gabby, it's a win. Without Gabby, it's a loss.
I think we lose this game regardless. I think game one, in Vegas, I feel it. I do think we're going to win our first game when it comes back to Seattle.
Okay. All right.
But I feel like Vegas is going to get this series 3-1. Oh my gosh, we didn't talk about this. I'm going to just pause this right in the middle before we move on to the next one. Did you see what Sophie Cunningham said about Tina Charles?
I certainly did.
Okay, can we talk about this real fast?
Yes, please, let's. Here's the thing. She didn't have to mention Tina's name.
Period.
Everyone would have known who she was talking about. She could have just said, yeah, I experienced a lot of growth this year because I got to play at the 4. I've never played the 4, and so I really stretched myself, and my game really developed because I got that opportunity. Boom. Like, that sounds... Girl, you're right. That absolutely hadn't you. You didn't have to mention. It's like you wanted to, Sophie. You wanted to.
Tell everybody what she said.
I think the best thing that could have happened to me is Tina leaving. I think that really helped me have the opportunity that I had. I've never played the 4 position in my life, but it honestly opened up a lot for me on the court, especially my 3-point shooting. And it opened a lot for our drivers too.
It's just factual. She's like, when Tina left, the best thing that happened for me offensively was when Tina left. I think is what she says.
It is. It is very factual. It doesn't sound mean, but it does sound unnecessary. Like when I heard it, I was like, you didn't have to say her name. You didn't have to. You already done said fuck Tina Charles. Like, I'm guessing you're playing just to never see her again socially. Because
that was my thought was, what if y'all both got traded to the same team? Like, you're never going to be able to work again. You have no professional relationship together after this, which is fine. You don't have to be best friends with everyone on your team. But yeah, she put her whole chest into that.
I think it just makes it difficult. I mean, I'm guessing that she's going to stay in Phoenix, but you never know. Like, Phoenix has a lot of things to move around. Very likely a new coach, and just like Skylar Diggins-Smith, they have to figure out a lot of things. So it's possible that Sophie may not be there. And now you are a problem for other organizations. I don't know what we said last. Do you remember?
Aces in 3.
Should we do scores? No.
That would be, it's going to be, I think, high scoring. Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely. This game will definitely be a high scoring game. Thanks, Chelsea.
And Asia.
And Kelsey.
And Jackie. Oh, shit. Too many.
Okay, moving on to game 2 of that evening. We have Connecticut versus Chicago. Who you got?
I'm going to take Chicago for the series and in this game. I love that we have the top 4 seeds. The playoffs worked out how the playoffs should. But I think that Connecticut has just not been playing synced up basketball. They look like something's up on court. So I'm taking Chicago.
Couldn't agree more. Samesies. Chicago for the series. Chicago for Sunday night. If anyone's getting swept, it's Connecticut. And that is because Connecticut has been playing like booty the past 2 games. They look bad juju, bad energy. John Quad looked pissed, and not in like a way. It's like a I can't stand these people way. And I'm sure that's not the case. But something's going on that hopefully over the next couple of days they can work it out and get back to happy Connecticut, because it doesn't look good. Their last 2 performances do not look good headed into the semifinals. So I'm going to take Chicago over Connecticut. Unless they turn it around, I'm going to take Chicago every single time.
You think Chicago in 3?
I will reassess after the first game to see if Connecticut can turn some things around. But based on how they've been playing, I would say bring out the broom. Yes.
Natasha Heidemann and Courtney Williams are going to have to go off in this series. I think that they are going to have really tough assignments with Vandersloot and Quigley. And last night, in their game 3 against Dallas, Courtney Williams and Natasha Heidemann combined for 13 points. Courtney had 2, Natasha had 11. That was a great game for her. But I just feel like the Sky come at you in waves. Their guards are really consistent. They're always moving. Vandersloot gets everyone involved. I really like Chicago in this series. But it was a great series in the regular season, was it?
Yes, much more competitive. Yes. So if they can get back to that regular season, Connecticut, it's a different story. It's a very different story. But, momentum. It's important how you've been playing. They have not been playing well. So
shout out while we're here on Connecticut. Shout out to Jasmine Thomas, who is injured right now and would make that team so much better. But she was doing some coverage for ESPN. That was really great to see. I love when they bring new people into the booth. Jasmine Thomas, we miss you on the court, but you be fire in the studio, baby.
Good talk. Anything else?
No, let's just get the cats back in here to lick dead kitties.
For Balance Sports, I'm Jewelz.
I'm Hunter.